cameras about them. People feel connected by these photos and these captions that he's putting out. And I feel like that is my goal, is to be able to you know, to get this rude world to connect, you know, using you know, film and photography, and meeting people that do the same and having the same goals, and trying to make sure we work together to hit those, you know, those moments of where we're gonna see this guy and this guy weren't speaking, but we made this video, or this guy is trying to reach money.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the School of Business Makers. Today, my guest is all the way from the US, and he's a creative entrepreneur. He's a cinematographer, he's a photographer, he's a filmmaker, and he's also the founder of CK Art Production. And in the conversation today, he's none than Chris Kayiteshonga. Chris, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Christian. I really appreciate you having me here.
How are you today?
I am very well. It is a rainy day, but I guess we're gonna get over that. Hopefully it becomes sunny here in a couple of hours. But other than that, you know, it's good, and being blessed and grateful for the day.
Wonderful. Is there anything about you that you can tell the listeners more who is Christian?
Like you already said, like you already put me out. I am Christian Kayiteshonga. I am a filmmaker, primarily a photographer that emerged into film. I went to film school in Florida after doing photography for, I want to say about 4 years. And so photography kind of helped me emerge into film with composition and knowing how to frame things very well. I am a very happy person. I'm always happy. Barely get angry or agitated. I try to control situations that I'm in as well as I can. I love to work. For people who know me closely, think I spent a lot of time in my like working area, in my studio. And I love to have fun. So when an opportunity opens up to have fun with friends and connect, I am always down. And that's usually on the weekends. So I'm always able to go out and, you know, and learn about what the world has to offer from my friends and how they see it and what's going on. So that's a little bit of more than the introduction.
That is amazing. Can you tell us growing up as a kid, what were your dreams and passion?
Okay, growing up as a kid, um I think right around 8 years old. It was my birthday, and my dad used to work for a company that dealt with coffee in Congo. You might know it. He used to work for a company called Somenki, and he was, I think, a director, and he needed to own a camera to photograph, you know, things and send them back to Europe, showing his investors or whoever he was working with. And later after that, you know, the war ended. We went back to Rwanda, and when we were living there, I think when I turned 8 on my 8th birthday, is when he was like, I don't think I'm gonna use this camera anymore or as much because I'm not in the field as much. Here, you have it, and start practicing. And so that's one of the things that got me into this field, is that he gave me the freedom to kind of play around with this tool that most people don't get at that early age. Well, now most kids are getting cameras at 5 years. Back in our days, you wouldn't just give somebody a camera at 8 years old. And so that kind of helps me, you know, get into photographing people. And I would come back. He would actually take the films and go and develop them, because at the moment it wasn't memory cards or anything. You'd get the film, go develop it, and then come back. And most of the times, you know, I would have maybe like cut off half of somebody's head, or, you know, not really framed them well. And he'd be telling me, like, he's like, yo, let's try to have people in the frame, right? I'm like, yeah. So that's one of the things that I did, just growing up. I played around with that, and it followed me around the school, the boarding school where I went.
Yeah.
I happened to be the kid who photographs people for like ID photos and yearbook. We used to have like a small yearbook collection of photos to just keeping on top of who's in the school, who goes to the school and whatnot. So I was in charge of photographing these kids, so I would line them up, photograph them, line them up, photograph. But it was all like passport photos. And later on after that, I became the entertainment prefect at the high school where I was, and then again, like, just went back into photography. I would photograph some of the games they're doing, play them music and show them movies and all that kind of stuff. So I've kind of been around the area of my career.
Yeah.
Even growing up, there was, a few things on the side, just going out, having fun with friends. Again, like I said, and I worked a lot into the tourism industry in Rwanda. That's right before I came to the US. And so that also got me into loving nature and figuring out how to be an environmental photographer and just practice that, because Rwanda offers you such a beautiful scenery, and there's you can keep it, you can keep as much of it in your head as much as you want, but eventually you kind of want to document it, right?
Yeah.
And so that got me attracted as well, and up until I came up to the US.
Amazing. What's an amazing background. Getting a camera from your father, start practicing back in school and be who you are today.
Yeah.
Do you have like a momentum during your time when you realize, actually, this is the career I wanna pass through later on? Do you have that turning moment where you realize that being a creative person is really my thing?
Those where it was not just one moment, it was like three split out into different periods of my life, right? When I was in Rwanda and I was doing tourism, and working with Bridge to Rwanda at the moment. I There's a guy, Mark Darrow. He's working. He was not interning. He was working for Bridge to Rwanda as I think their media or marketing person, right? And he had this gear, and I was just excited. Growing up with photography, I was just excited to kind of up my game and try to touch a DSLR and see how it works. And I'd never used it before. And so I told him, I'm like, yo, I'm interested into photography. I would love to kind of shadow you whenever, a chance is given. And he was like, yeah, no problem. So he gives me this camera. It's an Icon D80. And with a 30 millimeter lens. And so he's like, okay, let's just go out and have some fun. And then he started teaching me about what depth of field was. He started teaching me about framing and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of enforced the whole career on me. But I did not intend for it to be, something I'm gonna do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I was thinking doing architecture and construction management, and that's what I was practicing for in school, right? And so once he did that, he got to a point and left Rwanda, and I stayed there. So while I was doing tourism, I combined that with photography. So every place I took people in Kinigi up in the mountains, or Burera or Kagera, all those places, I used to photograph and just kind of keep photos to myself. And then a very good friend of mine kind of trusts me and hires me to shoot her wedding.
Okay.
And that was one of the days. And I got paid like 300,000 Rwandan francs. And this is back in like 2010, I believe.
Okay.
But I got paid that, and I was like, whoa, this makes I can make money being a photographer. I love this job, and plus I enjoy going out to photograph and editing. At the moment, it was kind of like, I'm excited to be doing this, and so, and people trusted me to to do this for them. And so that was the first moment.
Okay.
And fast forward, I came to the US, and I was planning to go into construction management school, architecture. But then it hit a spot where I was just like, I don't know if I really want to deal with mathematics and physics and all these things that I dealt with in high school. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was trying to do them good, but it was never, something that I really enjoyed to do. And, I told myself, I'm like, yo, let me look into uh, film or photography, some courses that I can do, and
Yeah.
hopefully when I do go back to Rwanda, I can now make some video, combined with the trips that I do, right? That I used to make for people. But when I was thinking like that, it just took a different turn. I found a university that I ended up getting a full scholarship in, and then I went to, So that was the second moment that I was just like, there's no way. Like this is one of the most expensive schools, right? Full Sail. It's over in Florida. It's one of the most expensive schools. And here is a kid from Rwanda who is still trying to figure out whether or not he wants to do film, or he doesn't even know what that means at the moment. And God just provides the opportunity of, here's a full scholarship to one of the most expensive schools. You go and study, the things that you want to do, right? There was never that dialogue between me and God, but that's kind of what I imagine it to be. So that was my second moment where I was just like, man, yeah, this is what I need to be doing. And then fast forward, I got out of school, and I think the first gigs that I landed was to work on like music videos and commercials. And then I moved to Dallas, from Florida to Dallas, and I was working for BMW, the dealership, and I was doing their marketing, but I wasn't really doing my job the way that I was supposed to, right? And so I worked to save up some money and buy me a camera, and then I started signing up for weddings, right? And as soon as like I started putting myself out like that, I just it just kind of started flowing my way. People hit me up for weddings and stuff like that, and that was another moment where I was just like, this career is really calling me, and I need to think about it. So I give myself time to work at the BMW store. I was like, man, I'm gonna be here for 6 months, save up some money, and then leave and go figure out what I can actually do using my camera. And so that's kind of where the journey started, and a lot of belief. I was just like, I don't want to tell people that I can do things when I can't. I would rather tell them about something that I'm very confident I can do, and that is photography and film. And if I'm able to market that, knowing how I do it, I might be able to make a living off of it. And that's what I was telling myself. I was just like, I'm not gonna tell myself that this doesn't work, this doesn't happen. Let me just emerge into it and see how far it could take me. And I'll be honest, it's taken me so far already.
Amazing, man. That's so
Yeah,
inspiring. And
yeah. Thank you.
during the course of building your career, are there
Mhm.
some skills or some techniques that you felt from the beginning that for me to reach here, I need to build these things over time? Can you tell us
Mhm.
about
Oh, absolutely. First off is patience, right? Patience in life is something huge. I could not stress that. It's huge. You tend to understand, especially for artists, right? You're good at what you do, and you can tell that you're good at what you do, and maybe your sister, your mother, your grandma, and close family tells you, dude, you're amazing. We trust you to sing at the family functions or to photograph at family functions. And but you do get out of the world, out in the world, and there's other people doing the exact same things that you're doing, and they're trying to figure it out at the same time,
that?
right? And then you hit that and you create some of the stuff, and you don't see it moving, and the patience just dies, and you're like, maybe I'm better off being an accountant, right? What I did learn along that way is just be patient. There were down days, like crazy down days, to a point where I didn't even know I was going to pay rent, right? And something in me just kept on telling me, dude, like, just keep focused on what you're doing. And if anytime you feel like things are falling apart and you can't make it happen, go over to YouTube and learn from somebody who who's doing the same thing, right? Or just surround your mental space with the craft that you want to do, and not give yourself the chance to overthink it or think you can't do it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I learned the hard way, is to accept that this is where I want to be and this is what I'm going to focus on, and I'm gonna invest 80% of my life in trying to figure out how this is gonna work for me, right? And then along with that is to learn from other people. I work with other people. I see how they do their things. I pick up their style and use it on the next film. And here I meet somebody, I pick up a style, I use it here, and that's kind of a ladder, right? You're just going up a ladder of lessons, of experience, of knowing just basically the steps that you're taking to becoming a filmmaker. And so that's kind of what helped me, is by picking and grabbing from people, and
Yeah.
and doing a lot of free jobs, a lot of free jobs for my name to be out there, right? For my skills to be out there, because everybody has their own style, and it develops as you work. And I'm still trying to figure out some style right now, but at the same time, already what I've done has gotten me to a point where I'm just like, okay, now I have the time to sit down and revise the style that I want to do. So one of the biggest things that I learned coming up is patience, and just being an easygoing person. Maybe that comes easy for me just because I'm a happy human being and I connect with people easily. But being a nice person, and really just giving in what you offer. If you're coming to a project, don't give in 50% because you're not getting paid. Give in 120% and see what comes out of that, right? Like a funny story, and I'm gonna quit talking. Funny story is I worked on a gig, and I was a PA, a personal assist, a production assistant, and I stayed late on that shoot. Right, I stayed late because I saw that they had a lot of stingers, like the cables where they plug power. It was just a bunch of them laying down. And at school, I was a work study for the lighting department, right? So I was like, this is an opportunity for me to go and help them, and get to know the guys that I'm working with. So the next day becomes easier, right? I go in, I'm folding the cables, and I go in, I just help them. And the director is standing somewhere in the back. And I do not know that he's there, right? I'm just here catching up with guys. With all respect, I just walked in, I'm like, can I help you guys? Like, it seems, there's a lot of stingers laying around. Can I help you? They were like, yeah, absolutely. So I started helping them. And then the director called me before I left, and this was like at 10:45 p.m. at night, right? And he calls me, he's like, I really appreciate what you did out there. What do you like, how do you like, what do you want to do outside of PA? Like, if an opportunity opened up, what would you do? I was like, man, I don't know. You're the director, but anything that opens up, really, I'm into camera and DPing, director and cinematography. But whatever you choose to put me on, I'm all good with it. It's like, all right, you're coming back tomorrow as a key grip, right? So I got from PA, which is bottom line, to like a leader of all the other grips. So I was like in charge of safety and all that kind of stuff, and that, which also means more money per day, right? So those are the things that I learned along the way, is to just be humble, be nice, and get in what you can, and that will pay you off.
Wow,
Yeah.
there's a lot of wisdom that you just shared. What a journey! That is really, really amazing.
Yeah.
I'd like to know about your entrepreneurship journey with CK Art Production. Can you tell us? Can you tell us more about that? When did the idea came that, oh, I need to start my media production? Tell us more about that.
Yeah. Funny, you just beat me with this podcast to the video that I was gonna make, but I'll just I'll just put it out here anyway. This saves me. So CK art, most people think, or most people know, or at least people that I ask, the CK part, and most of them are gonna be like, oh, it's Christian Kayiteshonga art, right? It actually is not, right? It actually is not. It's Calixte Kayiteshonga art. And Calixte is my dad, right? So Calixte Kayiteshonga is my dad. and made to see as him and then my art combined, because he introduced this career into my life, right? And today I'm living full time off of this career, right? And so that's where I wanted to, that's where the idea came from. And I was like, I would dedicate this business to him. um Bless his heart, he's up in heaven, and he can, you know, somehow work some ways out to to bless me so the business grows. But other than that, that's what the business is about. And then I'm all about making impact in the world, right? Using the medium that we're developing today. We're making films, and these films have to tell a story, and photos have to tell a story. We've seen moments where journalism, you know, can legit, you know, deceive people, you know, into thinking other things. So that's where I come in. Is I see a need of authenticity in the world, and that can also be told through the medium of film and photography, right? And so that's where I land my legs, is to try to make impact with the films that I make. So coming from you know, whoever needs money, and I can maybe help them make a video to express themselves and tell how what they need and how they're going to use that money, and that video can reach donors that can support this person, my, you know, my success is met, right? It's that's where I'm at. Is I want to create those bridges and opportunities for people. And so when I saw that happen, that's when I realized, I was like, okay, you know, I can see my space in here. And then here in the US, I met another woman. Her name is Susie Pond, and she's my partner on in the current business that we run. It's called Redbird Media Group. Um, and so with Redbird Media Group, our focus is to go and talk to nonprofits and see what they need and how they want to achieve it. We propose them into making videos for them and films for them to help them showcase them to the donors and supporters. And we've helped a lot of people raise so much money, right? And seeing their work come to life is fascinating. It's just fascinating. Yeah, you sit back and look in, and you're like, man, I'm glad I made that video and that it has good enough messaging for people to support these folks, right? And so with Redbird, I want to support CK Art, and CK Art, I wanted to be based in Rwanda, right? So it it you know, there's pieces of it here in the US, but I really wanted to be based in Rwanda because I want people, I want Rwandan talent to work with CKR, right? I want to amplify Rwandan talent as much as I can. And I'm already in the process of doing that. I have 3 people that I work with, right? On a month-to-month basis in CKR, that I send content for them to edit, and I send, you know, all my work to edit. I spend some time with them just teaching them what I know on Zoom, and then they go back and apply it. And I can see that in the future, when I'm ready and set to come back home, I will have that with a team of local creatives that we can work together to bring these stories that I'm doing here in the US in Rwanda, right? So if we can help anybody, you know, come from point A to point B, and this point B means that they're gonna come back and hire us so we can move up to C and D and up to Z, that's amazing, right? And that's what we're trying to create in is the community that we trust in, and they trust in us to make their work easy and beautiful. So I don't know if that answered the question or if I went far and beyond.
That's amazing. And I can see the bigger picture, the long-term plan that you're having of expanding more the CK operation here in Rwanda,
Yeah.
empowering young creators, and also grow be part of building the creative industry, which is a good plan. And
Yeah.
what do you think? what impact would you like to create either in people's life, or what legacy would you like to create through the work that you do?
It's a very good question. The impact. I want to say the impact, even thinking about it, the impact is to see change, right? Which yeah, I can say change and people take that light, right? But change is huge. Change is huge, coming from something or a situation to a different situation, most likely positive change. That is huge, right? For me, at least for me, I know that every change that has happened in my life has been tremendously huge and super I've gained a lot of wisdom from it, right? So my impact would be to make that positive change, part of that positive movement from anywhere I can get anybody using my film and video to get them to a certain spot. Like Humans of New York does it, right? Humans of New York photographs people, tells their story, the whole world knows about them, and people feel connected by these photos and these captions that he's putting out. And I feel like that is my goal, is to be able to you know to get this rude world to connect, using film and photography, and meeting people that do the same and having the same goals, and trying to make sure we work together to hit those moments of where we're gonna see this guy and this guy weren't speaking, but we made this video, or this guy is trying to reach this guy to make money, and we made the video that helped create the close the gap or create the bridge. That is the impact that I want to do, and that's what I think this industry is about, right? For me, is to be able to tell the right narrative that leads, I'm not gonna say the world because the world's huge and everybody's doing it, but leads a few people that get a chance to watch these things to become better people, or to know where to put their money, or to know what to support, or things like that, basically.
Wonderful. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And I would like to ask you more of a personal question, because
Mhm.
whenever I interact with some of my guests, I would like to basically get to know them.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what is you personally? What is your purpose in life?
Hmm. Man, you're coming at me with hard questions. Okay. Purpose in life. Um, I think it's to tell stories. I
Mm.
might not be solid with that, but it's to tell stories. It's storytelling. It's visual storytelling. It's, yeah, it's visual storytelling and making sure that it comes with a positive wrap. I'm gonna just wrap it up in all positivity and storytell somebody's story in a way that they can benefit from. um I feel like with the background that I told you of how I'm here, everything was kind of handed to me, by God or the universe. I don't know what people believe in, but I feel that God handed me these gifts, right? And it was not for anything else other than using them in the world with the people or the animals, or the land and all that kind of stuff, right? So I feel like my purpose is I was put here to use the gifts that I've been given, the tools that I've been given along the way,
Yeah.
to make a positive impact. Yeah.
Wonderful. Keep holding on to that purpose.
Got
And
it.
wonderful. And for anyone watching or listening now who would like to venture into filmmaking one day, what advice would you give to them?
Advice. I would give them the advice that is good and what I wish I'd heard before when I was coming up. What I wish I would have heard is to not be afraid. Because just be brave, right? Because you hit certain marks where you're like, okay, I'm making this because nobody cares. Nobody's gonna see this. I'm just making it to put it out, right? And you do that so long where people start to see, right? People start to care. And then when they start to care, now they have an opinion about what you're doing, even though it's art, right? Even though it's art, the audience is gonna have an opinion. Oh, I didn't like how he shoots. I didn't like how his camera shakes. I didn't like how he walks. I didn't like how he talks, right? And that messes up with your bravery. That messes up with your confidence of where you're just like, okay, now I have to be super, aware of what I'm putting out because I know that like there's people just ready to grab on it and speak on it, right? It's just so people who are just like, yeah, man, we love what you're doing, support, 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 support. And that's amazing. But what I did learn, what I would advise is to not be afraid, right? Those moments are gonna hit. You're gonna have 100 people now looking at your work. You keep on moving and learning because from the point where you started to where you are, you've learned tremendously, you know, a tremendous amount of things that you even can explain.
Mm.
People are watching, now you're getting all these opinions. If it's anything negative, I filter it and try to use it on my side to see how I can make a positive outcome out of it, right? So if somebody says I didn't like this shot, I'm like, okay, maybe next time I'll try to frame it a different way to see if I can get to it, right? So it moves from you continue creating, moves from 100 to 1,000 to 1,000,000 to 2,000,000. Now you have even strangers' opinions on your stuff, and the one of the biggest things is just to be brave and continue creating, knowing why you do it, right? Knowing why you do it for you. It's art, and nobody should ever be afraid to express their art. It's like being afraid to speak, right? in, yeah, in front of people. So that is one big thing that I've seen. And then another thing is don't overthink it, right? Just do it. Pick up a camera if this is really what you want to do, and there's going to be a moment where you're going to try to figure out whether or not this is what you want to do. You're going to play around with the camera, be like, yeah, maybe I like it, maybe I don't, and then maybe feel bad about the stuff that you're feeling, you're taking. But one big thing is that when you love this craft, it loves you back, right? When you love this career, it loves you back. You learn as you go. You're open to so much. And then one of the biggest things that I'm super grateful for is you get to travel, right? So when you travel, you're learning about different cultures and understanding how they live. So all this is video and photography, literally just carrying you around, taking you to a different place for you as an artist to open up that brain and learn more about more things. So if it's a phone, if it's a phone, start with that. Try to see what you can do with the phone before you make this $2,000 investment. And once you feel like you love it, go ahead and make at least a $500 investment and see how that works. Keep it for a couple of years, and then later on, if this is something that you see that you're developing and you really want to focus on that, from there we can talk $2,000 investments, $10,000 investments. There's cameras that cost about $30,000. So depending on like where you want to go and how far you want to take it, um, is possible. You just have to really, really, really love this, because along the way you get a lot of punches, and it's up to you to stand up to them.
Wonderful. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Thanks for sharing those wisdom. And
yeah, absolutely.
can you tell me about? I know you have a lot of beautiful memories and moments you've captured or filmed. Can you
Mhm.
tell me about your most captivating moments that
Yeah.
you've captured, and how do you feel about that?
Christian coming to me with questions. So I've been working a lot lately into the conservation world. So there's a nonprofit that we work with. It's called Maine Coast Heritage Trust, and they buy land and conserve it, make it possible for people to go and camp there. They go and buy islands and stuff like that. So working with them to see the change that they're doing in the world, like working with people that care about the land that we live on, right? The land that we drive on, that most people just throw trash
Yeah, I
every
know.
time, they do they're holding one. um so working with people that actually do care about nature has been huge for me, right? And so when I got into it, I was all excited about, oh my god, I'm making these beautiful videos of their land and how they conserve it. And that was last year. But this year I went in with a different like mindset
Yeah,
of care, right? Of knowing that I need to be a part. I don't get paid to do that, but I need to be aware, and then I need to be a part of their work as much as they are, because I live on this land. And
mm,
people are talking about global warming. People are talking about sea level. All these things that's happened, that's going on. It's like I can start to contribute a little bit of it. So in my work, I see how grateful I am to learn about these things, right? To now tell these stories better. So if they're talking about, like one piece that we're working on is they're building fishway, right? But there's a lot of places that put a lot of dams, and
yeah,
so these dams cannot let the fish go through easy. So they're trying to take them down. They buy this land, they take them down and make fishway. Maine, we're surrounded by water,
yeah,
right? It's just water, so the fish gotta live, right? And so by making a film that will motivate people to pay to remove this dam for
mhm,
fish to live, you start to see the goodness in the people in the world,
yeah,
right? And so that's one piece where I was just like, man, this is amazing. And another piece is I worked on a recycling project, and this woman spends a lot of time at the beach picking up all this debris from people that were there last night and got drunk, and trash, and people who are walking their dogs and leaving all this trash. She spends half the day going on and like picking every little thing. And from there, once she's done up with the beach, she gets into her little boat and goes into the ocean and tries to pick out all the plastic that's just
wow,
been dropped in the
wow,
ocean.
wow,
And you see somebody who cares, yeah, maybe she's raising funds to do these things, but the heart that thought about doing that and making that your daily life, your routine, that's amazing. And you start thinking, why aren't we all thinking like her? Why aren't we all responsible? So those two are pieces where I was just like, man, this is life changing, and I'm glad that I'm able to create something to help them amplify their work.
wonderful. Let me wrap up this
Yeah.
conversation with my last question.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what motivates you every day in your life?
Hmm. What motivates me every day in my life? I want to say it's the fact that I think that I don't know yet, right? I'm always looking forward to learning. Every day that comes by, I'm always looking forward to getting better at things, even small, even driving a car, right? I know it is automatic to people, but I enjoy the moment where I'm in it and knowing when to brake and all that kind of stuff. So it's looking forward to learning every single day. Puts me in a position where I'm like, okay, I'm open to a new venture that's coming today, because one thing that I've realized is, as humans, we're so broad, right? We're very, very broad, and we still surprise ourselves even in moments that we don't expect, right? So looking forward to learning something new every single day really motivates me to get up and to want to do things, and seeing the level of work that other people are just putting in. um, I spend some time on Instagram. I spend some time on YouTube, seeing how other creatives are just emerging and like learning all these new things. Kind of just keeps the fire going. I'm like, man, he did that. I kind of want to go out and try something similar. And when I do go out to try something similar, then I find out there's another thing that I can actually do. So that becomes a plus on everything I was trying to imitate or learn from. So I'm always excited about those moments.
Wonderful, wonderful. And
Yeah.
by that, we are coming to the end of this conversation. And my guest was Christian Kayiteshonga, who is a cinematographer, photographer, filmmaker, and creative entrepreneur all the way from the US. The conversation continue. If you like the conversation or you have any question, shoot us an email and we'll be very, very happy to further the talk. Don't forget to subscribe. And I speak to you guys next week.
Subscribe, like, and share. Thank you so much for being